Morning tubers, we got a beautiful day going on, so it's time to get that motor onto this frame and move forward. By the way, when I was working on this motor, you guys mentioned a couple of places I made a mistake. There's an O-ring that's supposed to go on this gasket. When you put this gasket in, there's an O-ring that's supposed to go right there. I left it out. I forgot it, and you know what? I don't think I'm going to tear the engine apart again because this engine has a lot of unknowns. I still got trouble with the starter, right? And I don't know, right? We got this big unknown here too on the clutch. So that's one mistake I made that you guys noted. And yes, I did make that mistake. The second mistake I made, when I put the top on, you're actually supposed to put a gasket material, a gasket sealer, Honda Seal, I think it's called, on top. I didn't do that either. I never really do, and I don't seem to have any trouble, so I didn't do that. But in the meantime, we got to hang this on the frame. I find it easiest to kind of the bolt that goes through the top here and here, right? I find this easier to kind of get the motor in there, get the bottom speared through there, and then to kind of get that bolt on first. And it's also the last bolt I remove. When you have the engine kind of hung up here, it's easier to move around. Picking it up to get it there, I normally put one hand under the starter to lift it, and one hand back here, kind of, you know, press together and pick it up that way. So that's what I do. Obviously, as we get it into the frame, that hand has to go, and I kind of, you know, drag it around by the starter mostly. But everybody has their own techniques, and wish me luck. The engine is in place, right? It's hung here and hung here. So I got 2 points holding it up. I'm going to want to do a compression test on this thing before I get too much further, right? The compression test always works out better with no carburetor on it. And that way I can make sure there are no surprises. And we could see how much the compression has improved. You guys could also see I removed the wire harness. Generally speaking, I was just, the wires were either broken. There was one of these connectors I had to cut away. So other than that, it just unplugged, and we got that right out of the way. Right, having that in there as you're trying to smash the motor in is always difficult. So I'm going to put the recoil back on there. We'll do a quick compression test and then go forward. Step by step, recoil's on, motor's bolted on, and the compression came in at about 120. It's been sitting here a couple of minutes, so it might have drifted down. One could tell this thing kind of has a high compression piston in it. It's you got to kind of pull on it. You probably hear me breathing hard. So yeah, from here, I'm just going to put a carburetor on it and one of my self-contained ignition systems, and I want to give it a start. I don't even think I'm going to hang the exhaust. I just want to kind of give it a quick start to make sure that that engine's really there. And I'm probably going to pop it into gear too, just to make sure that, you know, I got somewhat of a transmission there, right? The quick start will tell me that, you know, I have no major oil leaks, right? If when you start it, if oil's gushing out, I can take it off while I only have 2 bolts hanging it there, rather than get it completely hooked up and have to completely tear it apart again. Okay, now about the carburetor. First of all, the old carburetor on there was OEM. The problem is they lost the piece that holds this needle into place. The problem you have with that, if it does start, it tends to run rich and then lean, and but it's kind of all over the place, so you're like riding it and you're not quite sure what the heck is going on. So make sure when you tear them apart, the needle's in place. This is the best. Actually, it's not the best. This thing is made in China. It's a copy of the PZ27. It's a clone. I like the non-cable chokes. That way I could kind of reach down and control it. The cable chokes are just a pest to me, and it's just easy enough to just reach under here and give it a flick up. So let's throw that on there, being careful to save everything that's left behind here and get it back into the old carb should I decide to use that in the future. Most of you know this already, but when you put the slide back in the carburetor, make sure it closes all the way, and it's a good idea to check to make sure it opens all the way. If you don't align, there's where the cable goes through, and then there's the inclined plane for setting the idle. So make sure you get the right side to each. It completely seats, and I showed you, make sure your pin isn't loose. Make sure that your pin is pressed down firmly against the bottom of the slide and that it stays there. There's a little metal clip that holds it. Anyway, time to smash this right on. I checked the oil, and there didn't appear to be a lot in there, if any. So I'm a big fan of the diesel oil for these things. So I did that. You guys could kind of see. I put gas in it. This is going to be a cold start. I'm going to try to start it for the first time right on video, right? How's that for nerve? This thing seems, I deliberately set the timing a little bit delayed, right? Actually. And I'm glad I did, because this thing seems to have a lot of compression, and if it does a pullback, it's going to hurt. Either it's going to pull the handle out of your hand, it's going to break the rope, or it's going to like stress your shoulder tendon. So let's try not to get hurt. So I'm glad I got that back a little bit. Choke is on. I just got to turn that on and set up the camera, and we're going to give it a try. I'm debating whether I should give it a little hoot of starting fluid to improve my chances. I think I am. I think I'm going to do that. This thing has a lot of compression, and once again, the kickback. One other last thing, fire extinguisher. You're messing with an unknown engine, you know, do yourself a favor, make sure you could get it out the door, and if things truly do go ugly on you, that you have a fire extinguisher handy. There we are. Give it a little hoot of Walmart's best. On, choke on. I can use the compression release. Let's see what she does. Nothing. Let's get a little fuel. See what I mean about the pullback. Well, I gotta check to see if there's spark, because I didn't even check that. Then we'll give it another try. Alright, I changed the CDI box and I gave it a pull and I got a little bit of a pop. So let's try this again. Choke. This thing is a pullback, by the way. This thing does like to kick on back. Power. Alright, well, let's talk about good things and bad things. Obviously, I put the exhaust manifold on it, but I did not put the muffler. We don't see any oil on the floor, which is good. I don't know if you noticed, I kind of stopped this when it was in neutral, then I popped it into gear, and it was being driven. You could tell it was moving faster. And when I put my finger against it, it didn't stop. That carburetor appears to be a piece of junk. I had one of my subscribers tell me that half the carburetors, half the clone carburetors are just junk, and I'm beginning to believe him. It's getting to be quite a few of them are ending up off to the side. I'm going to have to open that up and take a look inside, see what's going on. Before I finish putting this on completely, I really kind of want to get it running halfway decent. To ride it, all I need is a gas tank. I know it's full of oil. I don't need to fix the starter. Once again, it doesn't appear to be dripping all over the floor. We're going to let this sit for a little while and we'll see if some ooze is out. The engine actually sounded okay, right? Not that I can hear over the loudness any noises, but I really didn't hear anything too horrible going on. So I think this engine is going to be okay. You know, I should probably do a video of the third generation CDI box. This is the first one I built, and it's got a GY6 type 12-volt CDI on it. This one I built, and it has the standard pit bike China all-terrain vehicle kind of the square plug. Let's call it the single square plug, 4-pin 12-volt CDI. And if I were to build, and I should build, the third generation CDI box, I would put a voltmeter on it. That way when you turn it on, you could see if your battery voltage is where you need it to be. I mean, in my case, the bat switch lights up, but I really can't tell if the batteries are done or not, or what its problem is. By the way, this, you missed it. It wasn't on video, but I actually got juiced when I was messing around with that guy. So there is spark coming out of it, but it might not be consistent. Anyway, it's running, but it needs a lot more love and attention to get it the rest of the way back. I think when I'm done with this, you know, there's a pair of these in the Horde now. The one I paid $650 for, in this $500 one. I kind of view a 500 all-terrain vehicle as something that runs. The plastic is horribly ugly, but if it runs pretty good, right, it has a seat, it starts, it runs, it moves. Like in this case, the electric starter probably will not be fixed, right? Kind of put the junkier parts here and put the better parts on the other one, perhaps. I kind of view that as more of your $500 all-terrain vehicle. And for the other guy, for it to earn its $650 I spent on it, that one stuff should work, right? It should probably even grow a headlight, the key switch, a neutral light, you know. That one should actually kind of be fixed correctly, including the exhaust system. So, plans. This one is going to kind of come back to life as a rider, nothing special. And the other one will really put some time and effort into getting all the wiring done. If I did it on both, you would just be watching all the same videos twice. And nobody has the time to do that. So this one, Ratty Rider, that one, wherever it went to, will be the better one. Anyway, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out there and enjoy each and every day. Don't let any time get by you, because you really don't know how much you're going to get. Bye now.